It's time for TigerNet Talk with L. Swann.
You know, that's why Carolina's in Chapel Hill and USC's in California. And the university in this state always has been, always will be, Clemson. Print that, tweet that.
And I hope they come in undefeated. That's what I told you before the game. Our team believes. Our team believes. They got heart. We got greatness in us. They say we can't do it. What they say now?
Down go the Cats. Auburn's 17-game win streak comes to an end.
Welcome back into another edition of TigerNet Talk presented by Cross Creek Timber and Cross Creek Realty. Check them out both online. Thank you for being here with us on TigerNet Talk. I'm your host, Lawton Swann, and I tell you what, we've got an exciting program for you as we will be joined by DeAndre Nuk Hopkins here on the program in just a few minutes. And I'm glad that we finally got him on board. As I put out last week, we thought we were going to have him on Sunday night at 9 o'clock on the Clemson hotline, but he was unable to make it. But we've got him lined up for this evening. Just traded text with him not moments ago, and he says he'll be here with us. So we're going to make sure we give him a call. He's down in Florida training. Going to catch up with DeAndre, talk about his unbelievable season, a season that I think shocked a lot of Clemson Tiger fans. You know, coming into the year, I know everybody knew that some of the games early on were going to be on his shoulders without Sammy Watkins. But my gracious, the year he had to put it on in year number 3 as a junior. And, you know, as I've said here, it's tough to tell him, hey, come on back to Clemson for another season. What would he have done to outdo what he did this year? I don't think he could have. We can't wait to hear from him. We're going to take some of your questions. If you have one and you're watching the program live with us here on Spreecast, you can put it into our screen queue if you want. We can also take any of your questions to us on Twitter. Hashtag TN Talk. That's hashtag TN Talk. I see we've got a lot of folks with us, Vicky and Chris in the chat room already talking. They told me to bump up the volume a little bit. That's the one complaint I've had, as I've told you before, with Spreecast. It doesn't let me lock in that volume setting. The other place where I used to do the show live, we could lock it in. I can set the volume on my board here beside me, but I can't lock it in for what you get on your end. So it's always a little bit tricky to make sure that we have it just the right way. But I know that you'll want to stick around to hear from DeAndre Hopkins. It's going to be a fantastic interview, and he'll have to go through our Clemson 10. That's right. If you're familiar with the program, we've got our 10 specific questions that we ask former Clemson players or coaches, it doesn't matter what sport they were involved in, about their time at Clemson. Sometimes we have to modify them, though, because of the question about being at the top of the hill for the first time. But other than that, it fits most people who have been an athlete, or a student athlete, I should say, at Clemson University. Well, how about the Clemson Tiger basketball team? They dominated Wake Forest just a couple of nights ago, 60-44. And I tell you what, I was impressed with the way this team continues to play defense. And you might say to yourself, well, why do you say a couple of nights ago? Well, if you don't know, this show is not only broadcast live here on Spreecast, but it's also put in a podcast edition of the show. So I don't want some people to tune in and think, hey, that game wasn't last night. That was the other day. So it's one of those things we kind of have to work around a little bit here. But nonetheless, KJ McDaniels, let me tell you what, highlight reel. I know Dominique Wilkins was called the human highlight reel, and KJ McDaniels has a long way to go before he becomes anything near or ever like Dominique Wilkins. But for a Clemson player, he's got to be at least the Clemson version of Dominique Wilkins, because we haven't had a guy that racks the rim like him in a long, long time. He plays with reckless abandonment. He's got unbelievable timing on the defensive end of the floor. 7 blocks in this game against Wake Forest. A 60-44 victory for Clemson. Back-to-back great defensive performances. The offense at times, again, still not looking great, but how about Jordan Roper? The young man goes 3 for 4 from downtown. He's got a silky smooth stroke with the left hand. I like seeing him catch with some confidence. And when he's shooting the ball well, he's a bit of a threat from the outside. We've said this year, that's what we really need to be successful this season, is somebody who can extend the defense, somebody who can stretch and make teams work. We saw some of that maybe from Milton Jennings the other day, but then in this ball game against Wake Forest, I felt like Jordan Roper was the guy who really extended the defense for the Demon Deacons and gave Clemson some opportunities inside. And when that's happening, a guy like Devin Booker can be more effective. There are driving lanes open for K.J. McDaniel. And I wondered after the way Milton played against Virginia if he would come out and have a big game again. He didn't, but he didn't do anything to really hurt Clemson either. You know, Milton Jennings only had 1 turnover in this game. That's a positive. You'd like to see him, as I said, get to be a double-double kind of guy every night, much like what Devin Booker's been able to give you. But we're starting to see some things. Adonis Filer with some nice drives to the hole. For this team to be so young and to play so good defensively, I think is one thing that speaks really to the job that Brad Brownell's done. Because you get these guys that come in, and most of the time, they have been the elite scorer on their team. They have been a guy who, if they weren't good enough to score from the outside, they were big enough, fast enough, strong enough to penetrate, get to the hole, pick up extra points at the free throw line in high school. And that is something that we've seen as a product of college basketball. It's a real change. It's this mentality of it's offense. It's all offense. So we're hoping, at least I am, hoping that what we've seen by these young guys buying into this defense and the defensive strategies that Brad Brownell has is that down the road as they begin to develop an offensive game fit for college basketball, an offensive game that may be a little bit more technical than what they were used to in high school, where they could get away with those gifts that they have naturally and have that defensive background with them, that in a season or two, when these guys are juniors and seniors, assuming you don't have it, and you've got to think there's going to be some attrition. I don't think with just losing 2 seniors this year, that's going to be it. There's probably going to be some attrition in that lineup. And if there is at some point down the road, if it's next season or the season after that, you've got to kind of fill those pieces through the back end. But for these young guys to buy in defensively the way they have, to play as hard as they do. And, you know, I was in a conversation with a good friend of mine the other day about Rod Hall. And what always concerned me about Rod Hall is that Rod Hall may or may not be a good shooter. I think it's easy to classify him as a poor shooter because he doesn't shoot the ball a whole lot. And Rod Hall, to his credit, and I think Brad Brownell has really pushed him and asked him to take some of those open shots. If nothing else, it makes people guard him. It makes people extend their defense. Much like what we were saying with Roper or even Milton Jennings when they're on and hitting from the outside. Just to have your point guard force the other team to commit to him, to believe that he's got an opportunity or the ability to pull up and shoot an open jumper. He gets big minutes. He doesn't put up big points. I haven't been a big fan of Rod Hall's, but scrappy on the defensive end. He gets after it, turned the ball over a couple of times in the open floor, which is a concern because you know in the Atlantic Coast Conference you're going to be going up against better and better defensive guards. And Rod Hall got stripped a couple of times against Wake Forest. That was a bit of a concern. But NC State loses on the road at Maryland, and Clemson will get a crack at NC State this Sunday at 6 p.m. And remember, this is an NC State team that Clemson will play that beat Duke. This is not, this is no joke. C.J. Leslie, ACC preseason player of the year, he's a great ball player. They've got Wood who can stroke the three from the outside. This is not going to be what maybe a typical game against NC State has been in recent seasons. They are an improving ball club. Godfrey's got them headed in the right direction. The one thing, though, and I think this correlates between pro football, college basketball, you hear it a lot. Defense travels. You saw Clemson's defense go into Durham, into Cameron Indoor Stadium, and cause a little bit of trouble for Duke early. That could be one of the biggest keys in this game against NC State, is not allowing the Wolfpack to get out in front early. I think if you can hold on to staying in a range of 3 to 5 points by the half, maybe you give yourself a chance. Maybe you find a way to play such tremendous defense that you actually have the lead going in the half. But it will be tough. That is a team that's got some scorers, guys who can create their own shot. And Clemson, as we all know, without their defense, you look at the record now sitting at 10-6. It could be a lot worse than it already is. That Clemson defense and Brad Brownell, somebody said in the program last week, they said maybe we should hire Brad Brownell to be the defensive coordinator for the Clemson football team because they have really done a great job this season and throughout Brad Brownell's career. But with upcoming games against Florida State on the road as well, and then you get Virginia Tech and Georgia Tech, let's take a look at this stretch as a possibility. I think if you want to be fair about it, a possibility for Clemson to come out of this by the end of January with a winning record in Atlantic Coast Conference play. I don't think I thought that a couple of weeks ago when we were sitting at 0-2 going into that Virginia game. I didn't feel that great about this team going into Atlantic Coast Conference play after losing to Coastal Carolina. But now, with the way the ACC is a little bit down from where they usually are, perhaps that's just what Brad Brownell and this young team needs as they go into more road venues and get a little bit more experienced with conference play where so many people are going to be on top of them. I mean, these venues, look, give the ACC this credit, and that is the passion of the fan bases, the passion of the people who support these programs. Sure, it's not 80,000 people filling a big stadium in the SEC. Sure, it's not 80,000 people packing Death Valley. But it's a big fan base. There are big fan bases that are always fired up about basketball. It's tradition in the Atlantic Coast Conference. I venture to say kind of like maybe the Masters, a tradition unlike any other. Don't go anywhere, though, folks, because we have a treat for you. DeAndre Nuk Hopkins joins us right here on TigerNet Talk, presented by Cross Creek Timber and Cross Creek Realty. Stay with us.
I suggest you hold up. You must ain't seen that secondary. Yeah, boy, we so tough. Can't you tell that we ballin'? And these boys can't hold us back. 81 championship, and best believe we going back. Clemson, we all in. One team with one dream.
We're on the quest for the best, and we can't let anything hold us back.
These boys can't hold us back. These boys can't hold us back.
We scoop the boot. DutyCalls.com. When nobody else will do it. DutyCalls.com. To make that dog poop go away. Call or click for a free quote today.
When nature calls, we answer. To get a free quote for dog poop removal, go to DutyCalls.com now.
DOODYCALLS. DutyCalls.com.
In the Midlands area, dial 1-800-DUTY-CALLS. They're number 1 and number 2. G-Dog General Dentistry at Oak Grove is located on Highway 1 near the Barnyard Flea Market. Modern, relaxing dentistry with TVs and headphones in every room, nitrous and even oral sedation. Digital diagnostic x-rays for better quality and 85% less radiation exposure. And check out their new Clemson Patient Special. Mention that you heard about G-Dog here on the Clemson Sports Talk programs and receive an extra 5% off all services through football season. If you don't have a regular dentist, go see my dentist, Dr. Rick Jackson at G-Dog. That's General Dentistry at Oak Grove. Are you a landowner who owns more than 10 acres that's interested in selling timber or pulpwood off your property? Cross Creek Timber is a full-service timber procurement company that buys standing saw timber and pulpwood. They're staffed with professional licensed foresters and fully insured with both workers' comp and general liability insurance. Let Cross Creek Timber develop the appropriate harvesting plan for your property and answer any questions regarding forest management. Call today, 864-517-3620. That's 864-517-3620 for your free woodland evaluation, or visit www.crosscreektimber.com.
This is a referral service. Calls will be routed to an independent referral insurance agency.
Do you know the number one cause of bankruptcy? No, it's not losing your job or running up credit card debt. It's not even divorce. It's medical costs. If you and your family don't have health insurance, just one serious illness or accident could be financially devastating. But now there's good news, really good news. A health insurance hotline has been established to provide health insurance for all Americans, even uninsured Americans with pre-existing conditions. Now anyone can get health insurance even if you have a pre-existing medical condition. I repeat, now anyone can get health insurance coverage. Call now for a free no-obligation quote on affordable health plans available to you. Again, this is a free hotline for anyone, even if you have pre-existing conditions. Protect you and your family from sudden unexpected medical costs. Call the free health insurance hotline right now at 1-800-838-5562. That's 1-800-838-5562. Call 1-800-838-5562.
I thought I'd grow up and I'd settle down. There was 10,000 girls up in Tiger Town, and it was heaven to me.
Welcome back into TigerNet Talk, presented by Cross Creek Timber and Cross Creek Realty. I'm your host, Lawton Swann. Glad to have you with us here. Once again, Wednesday nights at 9 o'clock, we kick off the show. And don't miss Clemson Hotline Sunday nights at 9 o'clock. And during football season, the Clemson Hotline could be your first chance as a Clemson Tiger fan to talk about your excitement around the Clemson football team or vent your frustrations, whatever you need to do. But I'm going to tell you, you're going to enjoy the time you get to spend with us here tonight as we welcome into the program DeAndre Hopkins, fresh off of his decision to turn pro, leaving Clemson to head towards the NFL. And DeAndre, it's great to have you on the program, and looking forward to spending a couple of minutes here with you talking about your time at Clemson and your future.
No problem, man. It's a pleasure to be on the show, man.
Well, DeAndre, you know, coming into this season, the expectation was that there was going to have to be somebody to step up at the beginning of the year in place of Sammy Watkins, who we all knew was out. Immediately against Auburn, the bright lights are on. You've had a tremendous freshman campaign, a sophomore year that was excellent, and now it's on you to really carry this team at the wide receiver position early on in the season. And not only does it start there, but it carries throughout the year. Talk about what all went through your mind coming into the season, knowing that it was going to be on your shoulders early to really pick up some of that slack at the wide receiver spot.
I mean, it was a lot of pressure on me, knowing that Sammy was probably going to have double team, you know, coming into the season after his freshman campaign that he put on. And a lot of teams kind of overshadowed me, you know, from Auburn to the end of the season. You know, LSU, they were still playing man on me, which was surprising. But, you know, the numbers speak for itself. But I knew I had to pick up the slack. So from the Auburn game, from the beginning of the season, and me and Taj talked about it, you know, before the game, you know, that I was going to be his go-to guy. And if he was in any trouble, then he was going to look my way. And he did. And kind of throughout the season, you know, it stayed the same. Coach Morris called the right plays to put me in position to make plays, you know, which I'm thankful for, and it clicked.
Now, did you exceed your expectations coming into the year? What exactly were your expectations for Nuk Hopkins coming in?
Oh, man, I feel like I hit every cylinder of every goal that I had coming to this year. I wouldn't say over-exceed because, you know, I always put myself up to the bigger challenge and make my goals, you know, kind of out of reach. You know, that's what a goal is. And my goal coming into the season was to break every record there was at Clemson. I kind of looked at the record books. You know, some people not supposed to do that, but, you know, I was just kind of curious to see what they were. And I was like, man, I can really, these goals are obtainable. They're right here in front of me if I go out and make it happen and practice hard. And I set high goals to break every record at Clemson there was. And I feel like I might have hit a lot of those except for a couple. But, you know, I was always taught to set your goals higher than, you know, than what other people set your goals for you, you know, and I did that and I conquered them.
Career record in touchdown receptions with 27, 100-yard games with 12, total receiving yards with 3,020. And what's most impressive about it is the time frame you did it in 3 seasons. And so you come in as a freshman, and really you're one of the bright spots on that team. The next season, Sammy Watkins steps forward. You guys have a tremendous year as a combo. But as a leader on that team, as just a sophomore, there was no angst. What was it about Sammy and your relationship that was able to make you guys better on the field?
It was us bonding off the field as well. Kind of doing stuff together with Todd. As a whole offense, I would say. As soon as he came in, from his freshman year, I kind of showed him the ropes. Of just things to respect out there on the field, and I mean I really didn't have to do that because it came natural to him. But I was just trying to be a big brother to him on the field and off the field. Even through his situation, I was there for him, encouraging him to stay positive and stay strong, and knowing that wasn't the end of the world. And that's like my little brother. We talk every day, even though I'm not there. It was, me and Sammy Bryant last year was great. When he came, like from his freshman year to his sophomore year, even when he wasn't playing, we were still encouraging each other to get better and challenging each other every day at practice. It was just a competitive type thing, but it was the same time. It was all right. We know we're on the same team, man, and we know we want the same goal, but we're going to go out here and compete against each other, which helped the team in the long run.
You're listening to TigerNet Talk. That's the voice of DeAndre Nuk Hopkins. And, Nuk, I think coming into the season, it wasn't well known by a lot of people where your nickname Nuk came from. I got to tell you, though, my son is 3.5, so really your freshman year of college, I was in the baby stores quite frequently and noticed that brand name. So tell the folks there who may not know the story where your nickname Nuk comes from.
Oh, man, it's funny, man. I tell a lot of people that I'm called Nuk because I'm the bomb. But, it came from when I was young, when I was an infant. It's a brand name pacifier. It's called Nuk. It's spelled N-U-K. A lot of people spell N-U-K, but I spell N-U-K. And my mother, she said that was the only kind of pacifier that I was stuck. She said she would go to a store and buy different brands, and I would spit them out. And Nuk was the only kind that I would like. And she said I would suck through so many pacifiers in a week that it was ridiculous. And it was just, we had so many Nuk, I guess, pacifiers laying around that she just picked up the name and was like, Nuk.
Well, you're fortunate. There's a brand of pacifiers I see out there called MAM, M-A-M, so it could have been a lot worse.
Exactly. Yeah, you're right.
Now, you look at your career, 3 seasons, they fly by. Look, I did plenty of time in college. I was on the 14-semester plan, to be honest with you. What's the hardest thing about leaving Clemson University?
Oh, man, the hardest thing is leaving my home, not just Clemson University, the city of Clemson and the town of Central and just the surrounding area. It's kind of like to me, it's kind of like leaving home for the first time, and it's kind of hard. Clemson University has been great to me, on and off the field. The coaches, they've been there for me spiritually, and just helped me grow as a person. And leaving Clemson, and it wasn't easy. It wasn't a easy decision at all because it's where I was born. And as soon as I came out the womb, I knew that I wanted to play football for Clemson University. I didn't care if they were the worst team in America. I knew that I wanted to play for them, and it's hard leaving somewhere like that there's more than a home to you.
Now, speaking about Clemson and where they stand in America right now, one of the top teams in the country, partly because of your unbelievable play. If you had a vote in the polls and Nuk Hopkins was back next season, where's Clemson start out in the rankings?
Oh, man, I say we start out number 1 in America, honestly. I don't see anybody that's better than us on our schedule or not on our schedule. We have all the tools on defense, all the guys coming back, D-line, the secondary, the guys are young this year, but they're growing up. They're going to be vets now. The offensive line is there. Ty's boy is back. The running backs, we have depth in. We got some freshmen coming in. I mean, honestly, man, if I came back, I would put us number 1, and even if I didn't come back, I would still put us number 1 because we have so much talent at Clemson, to win a national championship.
Well, Nuk, we've got a bunch of people tuned into the program, and some folks have some questions for you, so I'm going to take those real quick. Scott wants to know, what went through your mind when you realized you'd caught 4th and 16 in Atlanta?
What went through my mind is is how we're going to win this game. I knew I caught the 4th and 16, but I was still looking at the clock. Like there's not that much time left, and I don't know if I got past the 50 or close to the 50, but I was trying to hurry up and get back to the ball and make another big play for my team.
Bernard wants to know, with the projected 14th pick in the NFL draft, could you see yourself playing opposite in the slot, maybe with Cam Newton and Steve Smith at Carolina?
Oh man, that would be tremendous. I could definitely see myself at Carolina playing with Cam Newton. I'm a South Carolina guy. Charlotte's not too far. You know, that would then all the Clemson fans wouldn't have a far drive. There's a ride up and come see me play. I could definitely see myself there.
There you go. Now, when you talk about turning pro, Nuke, and you look to the NFL and this career, and we heard Taj Boyd and his announcement that he was coming back, and the words of Dwayne Allen talking to him about how, you know, it was such a job, and you're already kind of starting to feel that. I know you're down in Florida training right now, but do you ever worry that when this game that you've loved for so long becomes a job, that all of a sudden maybe it just doesn't seem as fun?
I thought about that, but you know, it's a passion to me. Football is more than football. You know, it's kind of like when your grandfather golfed, your dad golfed. You know, it's kind of like, okay, it's my turn to hand down the torch, you know, to my son and to tell him that his dad was a good golfer. You know, kind of trying to put in your perspective, because I'm sure you golf, but you know, it's kind of how it was in my turn. My granddad, Terry Smith, he was a great football player. You know, my uncle, his son, Terry Smith, was a great football player. You know, it's more than just football. I know one day that it's not going to be there for me, which everybody knows that. You know, they watch 30 for 30, but, you know, it's more than football to me. It's something I take pride in doing every day.
All right, we've got one more here. It looks like Lee wants me to tell you that Haley's listening and that she loves you. And let's see if we got anything else here in the chat room. James wants to know, are you planning on coming back and watching some Clemson games next season if you can?
Oh, man, every chance I get, I will be there in orange and purple with a Taj Boyd or Sammy Watkins jersey on, just like a fan, just like I was when I was a kid.
Awesome. DeAndre, we're going to give you 10 final questions. This is stuff that the legends Perry Tuttle have been through, Joe Bostic. If they've put on the paw on the side of their helmet and they've come on the show, they've gone through it. So you've got Daquan Bowers was just on not that long ago. He went through it. So you got to go through my Clemson 10. 10 questions devoted solely that only Clemson athletes could answer. Short answer. You don't have to get into too much detail if you don't want to. Number 1 on the Clemson 10, what does Clemson mean to Nuk Hopkins?
What does Clemson mean to Nuk Hopkins? Good question. Clemson mean Nuk Hopkins. I feel like Clemson to Nuk Hopkins means the world. It's everything. It's everything that you could think of. It's great. That's what Clemson means to me. It's heaven on earth.
Describe the first time you ran down the hill on game day.
First time I ran down the hill on game day, I was thinking about when I used to be a kid and look up to that rock and see other players run down and how fast time has flew, and it was my turn. That's what I was thinking. Your
biggest influence on your life?
My mother, Sabrina Greenlee. She raised 4 kids on her own, and all of us are doing well. So my mother, Sabrina.
If you could snap your fingers right now and be back on campus, where's your favorite spot?
Ooh, my favorite spot would be Vickery Hall, and I would say that because all the mentors there, the people that help you with your schoolwork are great. You know, I'm not going to get into details, but they help me with a lot. So Vickery Hall, it's our study hall place.
Your greatest moment during your time at Clemson?
My greatest moment at my time at Clemson would be catching 4th and 16 against LSU.
Now I got
in the Chick-fil-A Bowl.
now I'm going to have to go off of – now I'm going to have to kind of get off my list for a second. What would you call that play? People want to name that play. Do you have a name for it?
I would call it the Coach Morris play, because that play describes Coach Morris in all kind of ways. Honestly, I would call it the Coach Morris play.
Now, we talked about your greatest moment just moments ago. This is number 6, so we're halfway through. What's the toughest moment you had during your time at Clemson?
Toughest moment I had during my time at Clemson. It would probably be not being able to get a ride somewhere my freshman year. Not going to go into any details.
Gotcha. Most difficult class you took?
The most difficult class I took was biology. A teacher that goes by Miss Minor. If any people that went to Clemson might know her. Yeah, that was a tough class. Biology.
The best stadium to play in on the road?
Florida State, by far. Go Campbell.
One thing most people don't know about Nuk Hopkins? I'm very, very country. I like to fish, I like to hunt, I like to do everything outdoors you can think of. Well, hold up now. You are no longer at Clemson, and one of our sponsors is an outdoor line of apparel, Edisto Outdoors. I'm going to talk to them and see if we can't get you a couple of hunting shirts or something. I think
man, that'd be great.
Yeah, we can do that now. We couldn't have done that a week and a half ago. We can do that now.
Right, sounds good.
And finally, Nuk, question 10. In 10 years, what do you hope Clemson fans will remember about you?
The legacy that I left, the passion that I played with on the field, the love that I have for the game, and the love that I have for the fans of Clemson.
Awesome. DeAndre Hopkins, ladies and gentlemen. Nuk, thanks a lot for coming in with us, and I hope we can touch bases with you during your rookie year. Best of luck to you, and I know you're going to continue to make Clemson fans proud no matter where you end up in the NFL.
Thank you, man. Thank you. My pleasure to be on the show.
All right, Nuk Hopkins coming through in the clutch. Appreciate him spending some time with us. What a fantastic guy. Again, the trend continues. Every time we have a former Clemson player on, they are not only great players that we're looking at what they did on the field, but listen to these guys off the field. There truly is something in those hills. Stay with us.
Jeff Davis when I grew up, tackling Seminoles and Bulldogs, playing football in the mud. So everybody sing Tiger Rag at the top of your lungs, and we'll party like it's 1981.
Do you suffer from a chronic case of the woohoo during football games? Do your Saturdays sound something a bit like this? Well, TigerNet Talk is out to fix that. If we can band together, we can change this reoccurring issue. With a simple, go Tigers, go, you can make a difference. Ban the woohoo. Do yourself a favor. And as always, go Tigers. Take your business to the next level with innovative website design from Foodog Media. Foodog can handle all your web, graphic, and social media needs. Call them today, 843-864-9268. That's 843-864-9268. Mention this ad and receive 10% off of your website. Foodog is a Clemson-owned business. See their portfolio at www.foodogmedia.net. May the food be with you. G-Dog General Dentistry at Oak Grove is located on Highway 1 near the Barnyard Flea Market. Modern, relaxing dentistry with TVs and headphones in every room, nitrous and even oral sedation. Digital diagnostic x-rays for better quality and 85% less radiation exposure. And check out their new Clemson patient special. Mention that you heard about G-Dog here on the Clemson Sports Talk programs and receive an extra 5% off all services through football season. If you don't have a regular dentist, go see my dentist, Dr. Rick Jackson at G-Dog. That's Gentle Dentistry at Oak Grove.
Hate the thought of shopping? All that hassle and can't find what you're looking for anyway? We understand. Retail stores make it difficult. Instead, try www.edistooutdoors.com. Edisto Outdoors features performance apparel and gear engineered for performance, comfort, and style. EdistoOutdoors.com. You'll enjoy the shopping and you'll enjoy the products. Great products from people who care.
Blake Austin of South Carolina Farm Bureau is an insurance agent you can count on to meet all your needs. Home, auto, health, life, you name it, Blake's got you covered, and he can save you on your yearly rates. Call him now for a free quote, 803-259-5008. That's 803-259-5008. Or just go to ClemsonSportsTalk.com and click on the Farm Bureau logo to be connected to Blake. Do like I do and work with the best agent around, and you can tweet that.
Football season comes once a year. Cheers to the ACC. My den turns into a football field. I laugh, I cry, I dream. Quarterback throws the ball downfield, but I told him he should run. We take the ball to the 1-yard line, then the referee shoots the gun. On Saturday afternoon.
Welcome back into TigerNet Talk, presented by Cross Creek Timber and Cross Creek Realty. I'm your host, Lawton Swann. Glad to have you here. Nuk Hopkins, fantastic. Great stuff. You know, he doesn't do a whole lot of interviews, and I was so thankful when he decided that he was going to come on the program, and I know some of you tuned in Sunday night for Clemson Hotline and were a little bit disappointed when he couldn't get on, but, you know, he's so busy doing all this training and everything, and you can only imagine how it goes. You finish up the bowl game, you're thinking about your future and what you're going to do, and when the decision comes, when you make that decision, okay, I'm going to turn professional, all of a sudden it's not a game anymore, it's a job. And even though maybe he's not playing for a team yet, he's playing for a spot in a position already. He's in competition with guys on rosters right now. And so what does he do? He immediately goes down to Florida, starts training, getting prepared. And, you know, the big question I think a lot of people have about him coming into his career in the NFL is going to be his speed. It's not questioning his hands, his timing, his route running, but it's that speed. And you know, I think that's the one thing, if you were to ask him what's he most trying to improve on, I think that's going to be it, the speed of the game that he's got to play at that wide receiver position, because that can push your number, that can push you up further. And when you see the talent that he has and his awareness of where he is on the field and making that great play, the Coach Morris play, he likes to call it. Some people like to call it 4th and 16. I believe I saw Michelle called it the Nuk clutch, because it was clutch. What a catch, what a grab, what a snag. And the more you watch that play in that drive, I can't believe that CBS and NBC both put the South Carolina-Michigan finish ahead of the Clemson-LSU game. When you just look at how those games played out, that final drive for Clemson was just so impressive, to move the ball down the field and to see them just physically wear out an LSU defense. It was something else, and it really answered the bell and the question that people had about the toughness and the character of this team. David says, don't tell Nuk that you picked LSU. Yeah, I won't, and I probably won't mention that to the rest of you. I said it was going to be a close game, though. I did have that in my back pocket. You know, if Les Miles decides on 2nd and 2 that he's going to run the ball twice instead of throw the ball twice, we may not be celebrating this 25-24 victory. And I know Clemson's defensive front has stood up. That defensive line had played great. But I think if you put those odds in Vegas and said, hey, what are the odds LSU can pick up 2 yards against Clemson? It's probably the odds in Vegas would be pretty good that's going to happen. But Les Miles, he's Les Miles. He's the riverboat gambler. He's the guy that takes chances. And they were, you know, Mettenberger was just a bit off on the second down play from really having probably a 7 to 10 yard pass that picks up the first down. But we all know if Grandma had rubber wheels, she'd be a bicycle. So obviously that's not what happened. But we are definitely glad to celebrate that 25-24 victory, and we will hold on to it for a long time, and we've got to. You went through the punishment all offseason. You were the butt of jokes at the water coolers. You couldn't escape what happened against West Virginia. But now you've got a chance. And like Nuk said, if he were on this team, he thinks it would be the number 1 ranked team in the country. I think even with the Nuk Hopkins, I've said I think this would be a top 5 to 10 team. Without him, I think we're still right in that range. I don't think it changes a whole lot. Norman wants to know, will we be able to replace the 2 receivers that we have lost on the recruiting trail? You know, Norman, I think this is something that's not going to be of a big concern to Clemson, whether or not they can pick up somebody here on the recruiting trail to replace the guys that they've lost previously. And the thing is, when you look at Coach Morris, it's already clear. It's a clear indication to me. We've already been able to go into guys' homes who we haven't been very involved or very invested with, and all of a sudden you've got them becoming Clemson leans. I don't think that's a big deal. I think you saw even before, you know, Chad Morris coming into this system wasn't the reason that Clemson was able to land the top recruiting class in the country a couple of seasons ago. That was Dabo. That was Jeff Scott. That was selling this program as an up-and-coming program and saying to players, hey, we've got spots, we've got playing time for you. We've got the position for you, and you can come in and you can be an impactful guy. I mean, Nuk Hopkins, as we talked about moments ago, was really the only threat there. I think one of the most surprising things I've read and heard over the past week is Dwayne Allen basically saying that he really didn't think that Taj Boyd quite had it at the quarterback position. And see, I thought we saw glimpses of what Taj Boyd had when they were in the bowl game, and he was just in for basically a little bit of the second half there against South Florida. I thought we saw some glimpses of what Taj Boyd could bring to the table. That's probably been the biggest of all the things I've heard and read over the past few weeks. That was the biggest surprise for me, because I think coming into his senior year, Taj Boyd clearly is going to be in the mix for the Heisman Trophy. He'll be in all the talks. He won't have to make up a girlfriend who dies of leukemia. Are you kidding me? Manti Te'o, look, I never buy into the hype of Notre Dame. I never bought into the hype of Te'o, to be honest with you. I thought that he got most of his hype because of where he was playing. He did a good job. I think he's a very good linebacker. But this story is bizarre, right? I mean, this story is not only bizarre, but creepy. And look, there are a couple of things I thought about when I first read this and kind of looked into it and started piecing it together. And I know here on TigerNet Talk we don't venture out that often, but there's one person in America, I'll be honest with you. There is one person in America that is so excited about this. I guarantee you, if you were to ask Lance Armstrong what he thought about this, he'd probably say something like, "Holy cow!" Lance who? Oh, Lance Armstrong just cheated a little bit. This guy may have been involved or may not have been involved with a phony girlfriend who died coincidentally on the same day as his grandfather or grandmother. I don't remember. I think it was grandmother. Anyway. And that was part of the reason that some people felt so connected emotionally to him. That was part of the reason some people gave him votes, whether it was for the Defensive Player of the Year, Linebacker of the Year, Heisman Trophy. It was a story. It was something we believed in. It was a feel-good story. It made you want to believe in this young man and what he was and what he stood for. I'm not sure we really know. I'm not sure we know at all. And I agree with what Matt's saying in the chat room. He called her the love of his life. He never met her. This was an online relationship, but yet there have been some articles that report that he says they saw each other in Hawaii that she came to visit. Look, I don't know. 2-2 here doesn't seem to equal 4. It's a bit odd. And I wondered to myself, what if this was a Clemson player? How would you feel? We know the angst and the frustration and the sadness I think we all felt when Sammy Watkins, a kid who was a freshman, we all thought was invincible and vulnerable, freshman, All-American. Those guys don't come by every day. You got Herschel Walker. You got Adrian Peterson. I mean, Sammy Watkins. You're not going to see a whole bunch of those guys out there. And all of a sudden, here he is being arrested, and we're like, what's going on? Can you imagine if this was Taj Boyd has a girlfriend who all season long we thought had died from leukemia, and we've had fundraisers for leukemia here on campus, which, hey, look, that's a good cause anyway. It doesn't matter how. I mean, I'm all for that. But if he had gotten invited to New York for the Heisman Trophy ceremony based on that, or that belief, I can't. How do you stand for something for that like that? How do you stand by this guy again if you're a Notre Dame fan? And I don't care what he did on the field. 7 interceptions, 100 tackles, game-changing plays, block the field goal to win the national title. Talk about shame. Talk about embarrassment. Talk about a guy who let his fan base down. I mean, if this is true,
man, you are one pathetic loser.
You had it all. You're a college athlete, and you're dating an invisible imaginary girl online who's been in a car wreck and died from leukemia? And you don't think this is going to come out? Please tell me this is fake.
Well, that's the dumbest thing I've heard of.
It's dumb, Fred Sanford. I believe it. It is dumb. Manti Te'o had it all. If this turns out, and I saw some reports that this guy, Tuiasa Sopo or whatever he may have been allegedly in cahoots with, someone was saying like 80%? There was an 80% chance that he knew about this? And how about Notre Dame? How about Notre Dame finding out about this on December the 26th? Why wouldn't they come forward? Why wouldn't they come out and fix the issue? What are they thinking? Gomer Pyle says it best.
Shame, shame, shame.
It is a shame, people. It's a sham. It's a shame. And I don't think that if this turns out to be true, he'll never recover. I don't care what he does for who he does it for in the NFL. This kid will never recover from that. And if it was a Clemson fan, or a Clemson player, as a Clemson fan and someone who covers them, I would be thoroughly embarrassed. I would want to disassociate myself from that player. Bernard says he'll be a Cowboy. I don't know. I can tell you this, it was pretty ugly. Final segment of the show coming up right around the corner. Just a couple of minutes left. Thank you for being here with us. Appreciate everybody for sticking around. Stay with us. Final segment.
Like a candy ball and chain. It wasn't nothing she ever thought about. Didn't know it was gone the day she moved out. In my head, if I pointed it just right.
We scoop the boot. DutyCalls.com. When nobody else will do it. DutyCalls.com. To make that dog poop go away. Call or click for a free quote today.
When nature calls, we answer. To get a free quote for dog poop removal, go to DutyCalls.com now.
DoodieCalls. DutyCalls.com.
In the Midlands area, dial 1-800-DUTY-CALLS. They're number 1 and number 2. Take your business to the next level with innovative website design from Foodog Media. Foodog can handle all your web, graphic, and social media needs. Call them today, 843-864-9268. That's 843-864-9268. 9268. Mention this ad and receive 10% off of your website. FoodDog is a Clemson-owned business. See their portfolio at www.fooddogmedia.net. May the food be with you. Blake Austin of South Carolina Farm Bureau is an insurance agent you can count on to meet all your needs. Home, auto, health, life, you name it, Blake's got you covered, and he can save you on your yearly rates. Call him now for a free quote. 803-259-5008. That's 803-259-5008. Or just go to ClemsonSportsTalk.com and click on the Farm Bureau logo to be connected to Blake. Do like I do and work with the best agent around, and you can tweet that. Hey there, Clemson Tiger fans. If you're interested in advertising with Clemson Podcasts, go to ClemsonPodcasts.com and click on the advertising link. And as always, go Tigers!
This is Clemson Tom, and you're listening to Clemson Sports Talk. So sit down and have you a cold one and listen to a true American.
I like driving down Clemson Boulevard.
Welcome back into the program, TigerNet Talk. Wednesday nights, 9 p.m. Thank you all for being here with us. And special thanks to @NukeDaBomb on Twitter. DeAndre Nuk Hopkins for joining us earlier in the program. We're going to finish up the show real quick. We've got some questions in the chat room. And as you know, after the show, I think Jay-Z said it best, it's the after party. So stick around for that. We'll turn off the recordings, and we'll just talk Clemson sports with you here for a few more minutes and probably get the guys to drop us off at the front page of TigerNet.com tonight. But we're always broadcasting on ClemsonSportsTalk.com. Sunday nights at 9 for the Clemson Hotline. Wednesday nights at 9 for TigerNet Talk. Tweet to us, #TNTalk. Email us throughout the week, Clemson81@gmail.com. Or give us a call anytime, 803-450-0086. If you're listening to the podcast edition of the show, whether it's through Stitcher, maybe you're watching the YouTube channel, maybe you're watching the Spreecast back, whichever you want to do, you can always call us. That's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Or if you're at ClemsonSportsTalk.com, just hit the leave voicemail. Over on the right-hand side, it'll pop out. It's a perfect way for you to get in touch with us, and we'll pipe you into the next program because we do love to hear from our listeners. And we got some questions in the chat room. James wants to know from our infomercial earlier, do you ever think the woohoo will go away? It pretty much has become a tradition nowadays. Yeah, James, it's sad. I think it could go away. Like I said there in the commercial, if we could get enough people in a younger movement, the influx of freshmen, the people they're teaching at some of these first events when they get on campus, if we could get them to teach these students instead of woo-hoo, hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo, like I say, go Tigers, go Tigers, go, that would quickly get rid of it. I don't think that people have a problem with there being some sort of chant at that point. It's the sound of the chant. It's the woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo that they don't like. I mean, if you could find something that was a little more gruff and, you know, some kind of like gladiator-esque thing, people might go for it. But that sounds like something that you might do when you're at the fair and your parents just bought you a balloon and then they got you some cotton candy and you're going to get to ride on the merry-go-round. Woo-hoo! That's what people don't like about it. That's what people do not like about it. And if you could get it to be something like go Tigers, go, see, it's perfect. You're supporting the team. You're saying something that you would normally say to other Clemson fans. You ever say a whole lot of woo-hoo to Clemson people? I certainly don't. I've never. Yeah, walk up to your buddy's tailgate next time and give it a little woo-hoo, hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. They're going to say, you better hoo yourself right on down to the next tailgate because we don't want you hanging out with us. Yes, Scott, I may have a Scott says I may have a future in cheerleading. I might. I may have a past in cheerleading, Scott. Don't hate. You never know. James also wanted to know, do we think Oregon will come calling for Chad Morris? No, I do not think that will happen. I do not see Chad jumping ship even for Oregon, but I do think it's a testament to the program that we have an offensive coordinator that a team like Oregon would even consider. I don't think that's going to be the case, but I think there are people on Oregon message boards right now that they're saying, who would you go get? And they're probably pointing towards Clemson. So we're on people's radars. I think that's important. And then Lee finally says, can you imagine if the Te'o story, if he had actually won the Heisman? Yeah, can you imagine how that works? Where's the trophy? I left it at my dead girlfriend's, tombstone or whatever. Please tell me. Please tell me that, two things, and I'm leaving this story. I hope that it's not true. I hope that it turns out to be that he was scammed. Or, sadly, maybe he has some kind of emotional instability. I mean, that would be a good hope. That would be a cop-out I think people could deal with. Finally, we talk about recruiting. We talk about the ACC versus the SEC. That's something that gets played out time and time again for some of these guys. You know that it's happening to Montravius Adams and Carl Lawson. We know that this is a tactic that's used, the ACC versus the SEC, and you want to come play in the SEC with the elite competition. But look, I started to think about this. It's not like it's the NFL versus the Canadian Football League. It's not like if you come to the Atlantic Coast Conference and you play for a team like Clemson, you don't still have a chance or an opportunity to play for the ultimate prize in college football, and that's the national championship. So I think if you're an athlete and you're listening to this show or you're listening to other sports shows, look, we get it. The SEC has very good talent. We get that. I don't think anybody's denying that fact. But there is just as good a talent. You start looking at the NFL draft numbers from the ACC and the SEC. The ACC is every bit as competitive with those ball clubs. And I think there's a couple of points you can make. One, when you look at the top markets in college football, Birmingham, Alabama, number 1. Greenville, South Carolina, number 2. If I'm a Clemson coach, I'm talking that up. Knoxville, Tennessee, number 3 on that. Greenville. Now, I know you get some of that from the South Carolina fans who live in the region, but the Clemson fans in the region, all the fans of the teams, Duke, North Carolina, NC State, everybody up there in North Carolina, some of those people may be down in that Greenville market. Maybe you've got some folks from the Atlanta market, from Georgia Tech. But that's significant. And Clemson is clearly on the rise. You've had a 10-win season now. You've had an 11-win season now. Back-to-back years. And finally, I think people here's the one thing I'm not hearing this offseason. Why do we have a former wide receivers coach with no offensive or defensive coordinating experience as the head coach? You know why you're not hearing that? Because we are winning these games. Because we're going out, and it doesn't matter if we're playing Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech, Miami, whoever we go up against in Atlantic Coast Conference play now, we're not only competitive, but we're finding ways to win those games, and by wide margins typically. Clemson hasn't played a whole lot of squeaker games outside of that LSU ball game. We haven't played a whole lot of tight ones down to the wire recently. That's a testament to the advancement of this program and the separation that we've had. I contend it's easier to win the national championship in the Atlantic Coast Conference right now. I can't see Alabama, LSU, Arkansas, some of those programs, Texas A&M over in the SEC West, not coming to a point where they begin beating up on each other because they all get very good, and that's fine. But if you get a loss or 2 losses, you're done. Over in the East, you've got Florida, you've got Georgia, you've got South Carolina, who I really believe has peaked. They lose a ton on defense. I don't know that they're going to be able to replace it, but I still think they're the third best team in the SEC East. You've got Tennessee that may be an up-and-coming ball club once again. So there's competition there. And, in the Atlantic Coast Conference right now, we can whine and complain about the teams that have been added to this league. Clearly, though, adding to Louisville and losing to Maryland is a plus as far as the Clemson football department and the Atlantic Coast Conference football department goes. But right now, where Clemson sits, as far as athletically talented against the conference, I think you're much better off than you would be in the SEC. The thing Dabo's gone out and tried to do this year, they're addressing the lines. Plenty of experience, though, coming back. Bring in some youth to add to the influx there. And guess what? Even without a guy like Nuk Hopkins, you can still have not only a very good season, but if you have one of those miracle runs where the ball bounces your way, maybe you get a shot at the title. I don't think that's so far-fetched at this point. Every so often as Clemson fans, we pop on the orange glasses, we bleed our orange blood, and at the beginning of the season we say, you know what, I'll look at this schedule and we're going to beat everybody. Nobody can stop us. Nobody can get in our way. But I think deep down, when you look back over the past few seasons, even though you could say that, we weren't separated from our competition. I think we are finally starting to see Clemson begin to separate themselves from the competition in the Atlantic Coast Conference. And that's a positive, because you can spin the weakness of the ACC all you want to, but if you're the dominant team, if you're the big dog on the front porch each and every week and you're hammering people, guess what? You can still play for the national championship. And at the end of the day and at the end of the season, that's all we really want. SEC, ACC is not like the NFL versus the Canadian Football League. It is the same championship. And if you run the table as the Clemson Tigers, you'll play for the very same title that an LSU would play for, that an Alabama would play for, that a Florida would play for. So, recruits, listen up. Things are changing. There's a team on the rise. I think we see it coming. The Clemson Tigers. Come on, join us. We will see you all Sunday night, 9 p.m., to recap the Clemson and NC State basketball game. I look forward to having you with us. Go to ClemsonSportsTalk.com to watch the show live Sunday night, 9 p.m. Until next time, I'm Lawton Swann signing off for TigerNet Talk, presented by Cross Creek Timber and Cross Creek Realty. Y'all take care now, and as always, go Tigers!